How are you? We have Paul Hollis as your co-host as well. And Frank, we have an exciting guest today, and we're going to talk about a topic, that's not always discussed a lot, Frank, is it? Out there on the mainstream.
No, well, not really, but you got to realize how many elderly people we have. The baby boom
Right.
getting older, and there's going to be a lot of cares going to be necessary for them. So yeah, I would be very interested to see what Jody has to say
Yeah,
about that,
so
since I'm
absolutely.
part of that generation.
Yeah. So our guest today is Jody Lyons. Jody, this is one thing that we've talked about, and I think it's in about 3 to 4 years that a third of the population will be 65 and older, right? What year is it going to be in? That's one of the big things in the whole United States. A third of the population will be 65 and older in 2027 or 28. I forget the
I
number.
I believe so, but the important part of that is that the baby boomers are already 65 and coming along very quickly. So the oldest baby boomers turned 65 a few years ago. And when you look at the average life expectancy and the sheer number of baby boomers, we are in for a big boom, except they're going to be older.
We don't the
It's
kind
the
of boom.
older boomers now.
It's the kind of boom we don't want. But go ahead, Frank, for your
Exactly.
first question.
What do you think is the biggest thing facing us baby boomers? Because I am one. And what is it? Is it financial? Is it health? Is it in your studies, what have you found?
You know, you're asking the perfect question, and the answer is all intertwined. So you hit two nails on the head at the same time. That was pretty impressive. Number one, everybody's concerned about their health and quality of life, not just length of life. But then the other question is, how do you afford it? And how do you afford care? And who is going to take care of you? When you consider how many boomers there are versus how many adult children or younger people there are to take care of the boomers, it becomes a real challenge. And one of the other challenges is longer life expectancy. So now you have people who planned on retiring at 65 or 70, and they planned on not living past 80 or, 80 something. And what we're having is centenarians, and they stopped working 30 years ago. It becomes a financial information issue, and the cost of care can be, if you need a regular assisted living, it can be about $5,000 a month. But if you need memory care, in some cities, it's $20,000 a month.
And something can go up to long-term care at 60,000 a month. So it's really a situation. You're right. So this is the thing that's happened. And I was talking to an older adult yesterday about this, and I see this as a huge thing. And that's why one of my clients, Dr. Ron Kaiser, is 86 years old and is in the C-suite, which is unbelievable. 86 in the C-suite. Frank's ready
Yes.
to be in the C-suite at 86, right? You'll be ready, Frank. But C-suite of his publishing. But here's the thing: it's like people are living longer that are kind of taking care of themselves, that are married. There's certain reasons, but before it was like 10 years. Imagine $1 million
Mhm.
stock portfolio, okay, and spread it out for 40 years with
You can't.
you can't. It's going to be absolutely hardly any money at all. So now, what do older adults do?
That is the really big challenge. I mean, I hate to say this, but I've said to clients who very proudly say to me, I have $1 million. And I said, do you understand if one of you gets sick, you're on food stamps? If you consider $100,000 a year for care, which is not unreasonable, $1 million doesn't last very long. So part of the issue is financial planning, legal planning, making sure all your legal documents, like your powers of attorney, your advance directives, otherwise known as a living will, all of that's in place. Your trusts are in place. Your financial advisor knows your goals. You're prudent in making sure how and where you're saving and spending money. And then one of the other biggest issues is, who exactly is going to be your power of attorney? You need to make sure you've got somebody you can trust, who actually is willing to accept the responsibility for being your power of attorney. And you need to verify this every couple of years to make sure nothing's changed.
I want to ask you also that uh, as some of the older people are still functional, they're still very effective, and in order to supplement their income, they're going back to work or staying at
Yes.
work. And what are the challenges there? I mean, trying to find a job at 75 or 80. I mean, outside of being a Walmart greeter,
No,
is
it's
that
changed, Frank. Corporations are now allowing older adults to work longer. They know this because they're very reliable. They'll show up to work on time. Their work ethic, no, that's changed, Frank. The age discrimination is starting to go away in certain corporate jobs, corporations now. Am I correct, Jody? Some of the things are changing.
Yes, Neil, you're 100% correct. And the reason I'm grinning right now is because I just had this conversation with a friend of mine who said, in many cases, the young workers want to be paid for showing up, and the older workers actually do the job.
Yep. And that's when I Google searched, and everyone should do it. 80-year-olds in the C-suite. How many? And there is a blog on it and some pretty interesting things about. And I told Dr. Ron about that, and I said, "Holy cow! There are a lot of 80-year-olds in the C-suite." So what we're seeing is, Jody, is a lot of successful people. As we all know, 70% of the of the United States wealth is 65 and older also. So you have a very, very successful people, older adults as well. Some are struggling, but the reason why they're living longer is because they're still working. That, I think that's a huge part of it. I think we need to research what retirement really means and how can people retire but yet still keep the brain going, keep exercising, keep living the life they need to live, right?
Well, I'll go a step further from that. So I work with people with dementia a lot, and I've written books on dementia and on brain health. And there are a couple of modifiable risk factors. Number one is, of course, taking care of your brain in the body so you can control your blood pressure, blood sugar, because your brain is part of your body. But the part that had been ignored until very recently was social support and intellectual stimulation. Learning something new, working, having people around you, interacting with other human beings goes a very, very long way to preserving brain health. That and sleep, which is kind of at a cross purposes with working when you're 80 and showing up at the office at 6 a.m. when you need to be sleeping, but a good work-life balance. But again, if you don't use it, you lose it, right? So working
Totally.
is actually good for your brain.
All right, go, Frank.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take my case and my wife and I's case. I mean, we're both working, and she complains once in a while that saying I have people younger than me come in there. Woman, she's a GYN, OBGYN nurse practitioner. They're already retired and then they're in the 60s and I'm still working. And they go, okay, so guess what? COVID comes along, right? And the clinic came along, excuse me, the clinic that she's working at was forced to shut down because they were doing the operations and stuff, which were not necessarily they needed because of COVID, they needed the space in the hospitals. And so she was out for like 2 months. And I said, well, here it is. Now you could experience not working, being retired. How do you like it? Well, she went nuts after about 3 weeks.
She's still a nurse. So Frank, she still works as a nurse practitioner?
Yes, she is. She still is.
Well, I'll have to talk to you about a certain client that regarding OBGYN. So that's another topic for another time. Now, I think let's get some quick tips really quick for dementia, because this is really an interesting thing. If you don't sleep a lot, you've a good shot of dementia. There's certain things, right? When you're talking about
absolutely. So I'll tell you, one of the exciting thing that's happening just on Monday, July 1st is coming up, is Medicare has just launched a new program called the GUIDE program, GUIDE, and it is dementia care management. It's brand new. It's really exciting. You should look in your area if you are on traditional Medicare. Look in your area for a GUIDE program. But one of the things we look at in general is, are there modifiable risk factors? Sleep, because we know that helps you set your memories and the brain cleans itself up, basically, to put it simply. You want to control your blood pressure and blood sugar because your brain is in your body, and we know that that is clearly related. So sleep, physical health, don't smoke, non-smoking completely. Doesn't matter what you're smoking, just don't. Eating a balanced diet. So again, keeping your body healthy keeps your brain healthy. But again, social support, intellectual stimulation, and making sure you have your safety nets in place. Loneliness is a huge risk factor. And one of the things we saw post-COVID is undiagnosed or poorly treated anxiety and depression can make any dementia exacerbation worse.
Okay. Wow. Frank, this is a fascinating subject, isn't it?
Yes, and we're going to see more and more of that. To how to deal with the elderly, to have their a quality of life, like Jody said,
Yeah.
not just to live long, but to live a good quality life.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'd like to see programs that are put out for elderly that'll help that.
Yeah. I hope the studies start coming more, Frank, right? Yeah. You know,
I think they are. And if I could do two quick plugs. One is the first book that we've had that's been out for a couple of years called Brain Health as You Age, that I co-authored with two doctor friends of mine, Dr. Steve Simmons and Dr. Bill Mansbach. And my newest book that just came out is fictionalized Lewy body dementia. I wanted to make it more understandable than the nonfiction previous book I just mentioned. And so this one is called The Sea Glass Epidemic. And what I'm trying to do with these books is exactly what you said, Frank. Make the knowledge get out there. Let there be programs and things people can do, and let people understand what they need to do to take care of their own brains. If you need me, my website is carebrains.com, and we do have some education programs on there to teach medical professionals, family caregivers, etc., and people with dementia about brain health and dementia. The information just isn't getting where it needs to be. And so that's part of what we're embarking on.
I need to also introduce you to Dr. Charles Simkovich of Simkovich Concussion Institute, which has come up with a way to reverse CTE and also concussions. And he's in studies now creating these different things. And he's helped so many people reverse concussions. You know how they always think that you just, but this is what we're learning. And he's also been able to help some dementia patients. It doesn't completely reverse things, but it does bring in a little bit. It's too bad. I said, if you can ever figure that out, right? What he's able to do with concussion patients. But if you're starting to suffer from dementia, there is a way to slow down the process too.
Exactly. So we can slow the progression in some cases. We can't cure it. We can't stop it. But think about it back to our initial economic discussion. What if we delayed entry into a nursing home for 6 months? That's, $15,000 a month times 6 months. What if we keep people at home longer with a good quality of life that they can enjoy their families? That's also an economic, in addition to the social and medical importance of it, there's also real economics attached to that.
All right. Jody, again, your website for people?
It's carebrains.com.
All right. That was the special simulcast of the Neil Haley Show on Fridays with